Pembrokeshire Sports Update with Bill Carne. Very good morning to you, Bill.
Good morning. Another wet day today, Tom. I was hoping for a bit of sunshine, but it's good tomorrow, apparently. So that's something.
It is, and in fact, the wet weather plays into the sport because a lot of fixtures, it's amazing how different our county is. Some fixtures have been able to take place midweek, and some have been completely washed out. It's really has been hit or miss as we come to the end of the football season.
Yeah, the biggest disappointment has been the Senior Cup semi-final with Kilgetty against Moncton. It's been cancelled or postponed several times now at the Bridge Meadow, unavoidably. I mean, the weather this week again was dire. And it's got to be played in decent conditions, and you've got to look after the pitch. So hopefully now it'll be played in the near future. Monday night, of course, Carew are playing Hakin in the West Wales Cup semi-final. That's been postponed there before. It looks as if the weather won't be too bad for that. So fingers crossed, and a full programme tomorrow.
Oh, it's good stuff. And you mentioned that West Wales Cup that will be taking place at the Oggy Bridge Meadow. You were there. You were there on the radio actually on for what day was? Friday.
Yeah, Good Friday. Good Friday.
Yes. But what was the atmosphere like there? They're hoping to replicate it tomorrow as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean it's become a far noisier, far lively place over the last sort of 3 or 4 months. Much of that is to do with the fact that the academy kids are involved there, and that's great. Pure West has played its part with the music, and it's a busier place. It's nice. I think it's bound to help the players as well.
Yeah, and am I right in thinking tomorrow is their last home game?
Yeah, they're playing Aberystwyth at home tomorrow, and then they've got Airbus the last week when Airbus are bottom of the table. Poor old crowd, they have struggled all year, but still a potential banana skin because I say it every week. It's another vital game for Tony Pennock's team this week when they play Aberystwyth. They want to be in 7th place. Tom, it does open up a small gate towards taking the season a little further with the playoffs then to see where it goes from that. They would play the team who were 6th in the Premiership, if you like, the top table rather than the conference. So 2 points. Aberystwyth are ahead of Flint at the foot of the table. They don't want to be relegated. That would be a disaster. They're the only team in Ceredigion who play in the JD Cymru Premier, so they represent that area. And I know, their long history, they won't want to be out from that. It's always a tough game, isn't it? You look at Aber this season, I think I'm right in saying we've beaten them a couple of times and lost to them once in the first half of the season. Certainly beat them in the conference part. No, that was a good win there. So interesting time for Aberystwyth and for Aberystwyth. I bumped into Tony Pennock this week. I popped over the Bridge Meadow for a coffee with my pals there, and Tony was there. Always our chat, always very honest with me, always open. Yeah. And he's pleased with the way the season's gone. I don't think he's satisfied. He's not that sort of guy, but I think he's pleased with the way it's going. And the danger of the sort of ghost of a relegation has gone totally. Now it's whether they can get 7th. 8th would be a disappointment now when they're so close to that. Really, I have to say they're well in front. I think they were up till the games have been played in the midweek. Now they were 7 points ahead of the side below them, Pontypridd, but it's still a little bit to play for. They'll want to secure that. It'll be nice if they go away tomorrow thinking we've got a trip to Airbus, which is in the liveliest place, I'm told, and one of the grounds I've not been to. But knowing that they're 7th and there'll be more games for people to enjoy,
Yeah, oh, definitely. And we touched on it. You had a chat with Rob Edwards, who was there at the fixture last Easter. They have put their statement out. We mentioned this. Liverpool broke last Thursday, didn't it? We were the first to talk about it on Friday morning. But Rob's got no concerns as to the top tier football next season either, is he?
Yeah, and there's been a lot of debate amongst supporters, and like there has been amongst the people who are involved in Pure West. What can we do to help? What's the prognosis? I trust Rob Edwards in the sense that he has told me there will be JD Cymru Premier play there next year. They did fail to get the licence because of the stands, the seating arrangements, which the Welsh FA deemed to be not suitable. There is an ongoing, I can't call it a case, but an ongoing discussion between the people who install those seats and the Bridge Meadow about them not being suitable. And I trust Rob Edwards didn't say it will be there next year. and we'll be looking forward to watching TNS and that sort of ilk of team.
Yeah. He was very confident in talking about it. So excited to see what happens next. And of course, that 7th slot could lead to even more exciting fixtures in the future as well, if they stay in that 7th position. So best luck in the remaining matches. We are going to be there tomorrow. It's 5:15 kickoff, isn't that right? And it's even though it's on television, go down and support the boys in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you've got a chance to go along and watch it. It's the last chance to see it this season.
Yeah.
Other than playoffs, but the playoffs games, they will be away. I know if they get 7th place, they probably will face Newtown, I would think, away. And then the winners of that will play the teams that were in 4th and 5th place away. But it does give the chance of a little bit more football at that level. Yeah, it's high standard, Tom. It's good.
It is. No, it's very exciting. And then you just mentioned there about the West Wales Cup semi-final, Caerphilly on Monday evening. It's going to be an exciting fixture.
Yeah, it's traditionally a hard-fought battle between the two teams. Both have got some very, very good players. Both, I think, would be capable of joining the West Wales Premier League and playing with distinction. Of course, there's a huge commitment to travel with that some clubs just don't want to or can't afford to take on at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be a really lively, entertaining clash. And the prize, of course, is massive. A chance to go to play. It's not called the Liberty anymore now, is it? But whatever that was. the old Vetch field it used to be on.
Yeah.
So a chance to get to that. And that's the crowning glory for clubs. It's a long haul. They take on teams from Neath, Swansea, Carmarthenshire, the very best. They're playing against sides that are very experienced, very tough, and they've come through to this stage. I'd like to have seen them both get to the final. That has happened before now with teams from Pembrokeshire, but there we are. We're guaranteed to have one there, and I look forward to that.
Yeah, and that shows that the calibre of the top flight football in Pembrokeshire. The fact that there are 2 in the semi-final, where there's going to be Pembrokeshire representatives at the Swansea.com stadium on that final fixture. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah,
and then we're still waiting for the rearranged fixtures then of the Senior Cup and whatnot. But you've got other finals coming up as well for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th division.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting. We tend to forget, don't we, with all the excitement of the league. There's a lot to look forward to. We'll talk about that in a minute, about the games tomorrow. They'll have a bearing on who are league champions, which I suppose you could say is the blue ribbon event, because over a year, not over 5 or 6 games. But in the other divisions, Aiken seconds have done well. They're playing Monkton Swift seconds, 2 second teams in the final of the 2nd Division Cup. That doesn't happen very often. And both have got some very talented players. Aiken first, of course, Aiken United couldn't play in the Senior Cup this year because of an anomaly over many years. Couldn't blame anyone for that. It happened. And they took it with good grace. They've done so well elsewhere. So Aiken seconds, that could be the club's now chance of silverware, alongside with that holy grail of the West Wales Cup. I've been to a couple of finals where they've played in those, and they've been epic. Gary Dawes, Colin Fawcett, those sort of people, they carry that banner there, and Carew the same. They've been to West Wales Cup finals as well. So Aiken play Moncton. In the 3rd division is Camrose against Loreni. Now, I'm not sure. I think that's being played down at Bridge Meadow next week, unless they decide to, rearrange the Senior Cup first on that date. I don't know. But they're 2 villages that will have tons and tons of supporters. It'll be packed to gunnels. Loreni in the yellow there, they're renowned for that. There's a lady in the village who makes them all yellow rosettes and all this great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a cricket club that has become a football club as well. 4th division, Kilgetty are playing Camrose seconds or Neyland seconds. We'll find that out. And Division 5, St Clair's seconds against Cosh seconds. So there's lots and lots of football still to go. Monkton Lane is traditionally a place where some of the finals play. That's in Monkton Swift's ground, of course. And they always get a warm welcome there. So still lots of football to play, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It just shows the strength and depth of Hakin and Moncton. They're top teams in the first division. Their seconds are in the second division. They're just football is in their blood. It's fantastic. And Camro's there with the potential for a double as well in the third and the fourth division if they get past Neyland.
That's right. Yeah, it's
great.
interesting how things, what goes around comes around, and sides do well. It's worth noting that sides like Kilgetty, they're on the upsurge. At one time, they were the best side in Pembrokeshire. Now they're coming back from a time when they were in the lower echelon. So it's good to see. It's good to see.
It is. And then you mentioned there the permutations of the league, the one that they all really want. It could be decided tomorrow.
It will be decided tomorrow. It's fair to say, unless there is one thing with that. Goodwick travel tomorrow to Moncton Swifts, to Moncton Lane. They'll have a reception there. That's fourth against top. Moncton have had a strange record this year. They play some fantastic football. They got class players. There are loads of them. Ben Steele up front has played for Haverfordwest County. Dylan Davis is a good player. The Carroll boys have played at a higher level. So that yet they can lose. They can lose to Neyland. I don't mean in a derogatory way, but they'd be expected to inform to win that and to draw with Tish. Yet they go into this, they could spoil the party for Goodwick, who's still in with a shout to the double. Hakin will be waiting with interest because they won last night, 2-1 against Neyland, and now Goodwick know they've got to go to Moncton and win. If they draw, then that leaves a tiny gap for Hakin to come back through. And if that's the case, Hakin have got a better goal difference.
Oh.
So Goodwick is, I think the message is clear. I had chat to Chris O'Sullivan yesterday. He's been helping me with the pen pictures for the final. Lovely old boy, Sully, and Nigel Delaney, his partner there. So they go there knowing tomorrow how important that is, Tom. There's a couple other games tomorrow as well. St. Clair's, who are bottom, play Hakin, who are second. And I'm sure St. Clair's will have to accept me saying that could boost Hakin's goal difference again. Penna Robbins are playing Carew, 9th against 6th. And a tight tussle expected, Kilgetty 7th against Neyland, who are 8th. So still games going on. There have been lots in the week as well. Football is a busy place at the moment. Won't be long. And as soon as that finishes, then there'll be cricket on the horizon. Yeah.
Straight into the cricket. I know. Broadhaven Seconds are trying to fulfill their last fixture. I think that the next attempt will be the third or fourth attempt because of the weather. So there's still some fixtures just waiting or some clubs to have their last match is still pending. So it's an exciting time. And some other rugby is also coming towards the tail end of its season, but it's still just as exciting as ever.
It's a funny old season though, Tom. When you look, there's been travel, different difficulties. Clubs are finding it hard to pay the bills for buses to travel up the line. People are not wanting to come so far west sometimes when they're 40 or 50 miles away. The Welsh Rugby Union have got a dilemma, really. I think if you ask most of the clubs in Pembrokeshire, other than the top, who should stay at the top in Welsh Rugby, near the top, like Narberth, Crymych, that sort of team, then I think a lot of clubs will want to go back to the old Pembrokeshire League. And then have the winners of that playing, if they want to, in a playoff with others, to go up further if they want to try.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's very difficult for clubs. I mean, Tom, how much do you think it costs to get a bus saved to go from St. David's, I don't know, Llangennech? They don't play each other now, but that's...
Oh, you have said. It's hundreds, isn't it?
It's probably in excess of £600, yeah.
Jeez. That's such a burden on the purse strings. And you mentioned earlier on in the season as well is that some of these fixtures were only one way. So if you travelled that way, you weren't going to get the return to the club with the players and the squad coming through your till, as it were, at the clubhouse. It's been a big financial burden, isn't it? Yeah,
that's a notorious cup competitions for each of the divisions. So there was one for Division 3 right across Wales. Great idea, but wrong time, sadly. This week, Narberth are at home again. They're playing Hasta La Vera. I always want to sing Hasta La Vera.
Same.
7th against 10th. Hasta La Vera beat them away, which is a bit of a surprise, 21-19. I'm fairly confident they won't do that again this week. Narberth at home there. Alex Jenkins played his 7th game, last home game. It was a fantastic achievement and a wonderful day celebration for the second row playing 300 games. It's just amazing. Sometimes the pretty boys like you on the wing and things, they might get away with that. But a second row is like a prop playing, and there's only one who's got more than him now, and that's the hooker in Dan Smith. And in Division 1, Crymych have had an amazing season, Tom. I think they played 14 and won 13 and drawn 1.
Yeah.
Last week, they won again against Llangennech, which was a top-of-the-table clash. This week, they've got a bit of a breather on paper, sort of a local derby of a kind. Crymych play against Whitland at Park Lloyd Thomas. It was close to play when they played at Whitland. It was 23-13 to Crymych. I think there could be a bigger score there if the pitch isn't waterlogged. I get told off in Crymych for always saying there's a chance of it being off. I once outraged my friend Adrian Howells there by calling it a cabbage patch. And it's not. It's a fantastic pitch. But people are very sensitive about their areas of play.
They are.
And then poor old Pembroke have got another adventure. They travelled to Felinvole, who was 6th. The best result Pembroke have had this year came at home to Felinvole. They only lost 29-3. Scarlets are continuing. I keep saying they're battling away with people like Dilwyn Williams as president. What a worker he is. Darryl Willington as chairman. They're in good hands, and they'll come back. Things will go around, I'm sure. Tenby showed what they were made of last week. They lost the week before, which was a surprise. They won 51-0 last week. They travelled to bottom club Pontyberem, who were struggling like the Clappers. And not long ago, they were one of the best rugby playing sides in West Wales. Tenby won 49-0 at home. They'll be looking for another bonus point win there, I'm sure, to keep them in the top 3. Milford Haven at home to Lucha, 11th versus 9th. The Mariners could be looking for a win there. And Buryport entertained Fishguard and Goodwick, 6th versus 10th. They haven't met before this season. Fishguard, they've got some fantastic players. And getting the side together is the trouble. They through injury and unavailability, it happens. So tough games there. And in Division 3 West, Haverford have on paper a very easy fixture. They're at home to Tregaron, who are bottom and struggling like the Clappers. Neyland 6th versus Larne. That's going to be a good game. Larne won 23-22 when they played up in Dylan Thomas country, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. There's a tough one at the bottom of the table, and I'm hoping Langham, with your young nephew there, 10th, they play Llanybother, who are 11th. But Llanybother won 31-10 up in what I'd call mid Wales. I get told off for that. But it's not Pembrokeshire, so it's mid Wales, isn't it? 31-10, yeah, it'll be interesting. And another game which is always close, and he eagerly anticipated. Pembroke wins 9th place, St David's or 8th. The Saints edged home 12-10 up into Dewi, and St Clair's, who was 2nd, have a game again to move to the top of the table, I think, when they play Cardigan. But that'll be a tough battle. Cardigan are playing very well at the moment.
Yeah.
So plenty of rugby going on. Still the cup final to be played there. We've got with a good season. The youth this year have been amazing. Finishing with Langham now. The ladies have been in fantastic. So it hasn't been a bad season overall. Just a tough logistical season, I think.
Yeah, because the standard of rugby, I've been to Pill Parks to watch Luke a number of times at Langham, and like that's the low division. It's Division 3 West A, but the standard of rugby is still high throughout the divisions, and it's very entertaining of what you're watching, and there's usually a good crowd at whatever fixture you go to as well. I remember watching Langham v Neyland a couple of months ago, and it was packed. Everywhere was packed. Like, it's a really good event to go out and support local sport.
That's the argument for having an all Pembrokeshire league, or as close as you can to an all Pembrokeshire league, because people go. One of the things about rugby, I think, Tom, that's more evident than in football, is that the old players who perhaps punched lumps out of each other in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, excuse me, they look forward to meeting each other and having a chat about the games they played. And if St David's go to, say, Langham, they'll stay for the evening. And they sing songs, and they chat about each other's clubs and their exploits. I think the standard has decreased slightly overall, But I think that's because of the COVID and because of training and people leaving and being slow to come back. But it's going to be, I hope next year, a brighter one. One sad moment last week, Neyland were playing in St. David's. They finished the game and they heard that Gerald Charles had passed away in Neyland. Now, Gerald was a great stalwart of the club alongside his brother Derek. They played for many years. I actually spoke to him the week before when I was coming out of the ground, and Gerald he's just older than me, he's 77, and he was in good oil, and they had the news relayed to St. David's that Gerald had passed away. The players left immediately. They all had to go back to Neyland as a mark of respect to a great man. Yeah. And Neyland Rugby, I have to say, on a sad note, Neyland will be a sadder place without Gerald Charles. He was a tough man playing in the front row, I can tell you. But he was a gentleman. We always say it, but he was a gentleman. He was a lovely bloke. So our thoughts are with his family this week as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always a shock to the club when you lose those icons of the clubhouse. And disability sports lost an icon as well, not through death, but through other work.
But she will still be involved, and I'm pleased with that, thank goodness, because in all the time I've been involved in sport, I have never known anyone quite like Angela Miles. What you see is what you get with her. I felt the rough edge of her tongue a couple of times when I've perhaps a little bit lightheartedly stepped out of line with what she thinks is appropriate. But she has been the most wonderful ambassador and worker for disability sport. All right, you could say it was her role. She was. It's just finishing now as the disability sport officer for Sport Pembrokeshire, for the county council, they all do a wonderful job there. She's moving elsewhere, but it'll still be a role with people who've got additional learning aids and needs and needing to find a place where they can enjoy sport. People who are lonely, perhaps, people with needs. Angela will be involved in that, and she'll be wonderful for that. I'll be interviewing her for our radio show. I do think you ought to have her on for the full slot on the Monday night because she is inspirational. She might not want to do that. She doesn't seek publicity. Her going away do was in the Forbidden Florist, the new venue from the Edwards family in Haverfordwest. I popped along there. It was chucking with rain, as it usually is these days. And all her colleagues were there, and a couple of us from outside had been invited as well. And she was very emotional. She's been there for a long time. Terrific, big pair of shoes, but they'll fill them gradually. And she's still going to be involved. So people will have her being their champion in Pembrokeshire for a long time to come yet, I hope.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. And you've interviewed Angela a number of times since the time I've been doing the sports show. And she's always been, as you say, straight-laced and very passionate and enthusiastic about equality for all people that want to participate in active sport. So thank you, Angela, and looking forward to seeing who's going to be taking up that mantle as well.
Yes, yeah, indeed.
Bill, thank you so much, as ever, for your time on a Friday morning. It's Feel Good Friday, and you know what that means, don't you?
Yeah, I get to pick a record from the past. It really is a walk down memory lane for me. And we were talking, coming home from Llanharry in the car in the week. We'd gone up, it had taken, Gina says she likes the song as well. I bet she can sing that. On the way up, it'd been a nightmare. It took us an hour to get to Pont Abraham and then 3.5 hours to get to Blinken Llanharry, 45 miles away. Because they closed the motorways because of weather, although it was just as bad on the way back and they were open then. And we were talking about the past and the records, and the first 2 records I ever bought were Good Timing by Jimmy Jones, which was a sort of falsetto type song, and Tell Laura I Love Her. It was the first really of the genre of sad songs like Ebony Eyes and Leader of the Pack by the Shangri-Las and the Everly Brothers, where someone died pursuing love, And Tell Laura I Love Her, of course, poor old Ricky Lawrence was singing about a young fellow who went to drive his old scrap car to a race to try and get money to buy a ring for Laura, and he gets killed on the track.
Well, that's what's
I'm
coming up.
I'm sorry to have everyone in tears this morning, or say
Well,
what a rubbish.
But no, it's a beautiful song though, and I know everyone's going to be singing along with it because it is that kind of song. So, Bill, should we do this all again next week, where we'll probably have more news as to who's going where and who's lifting what, and we'll take it from there.
There'll be a few more things decided by next week, weather permitting.
Weather permitting. Bill Carne with the Pembrokeshire Sports Update. Thank you very much. We have got Ricky Valance with Tell Laura I Love Her on the way. And also, it's Feel Good Friday. We want to know what your song requests are. The playlist is yours here on the Gina and Tom Breakfast Show on Pure West Radio.
Feel Good Friday with Pem's Paving. Your one